Hello students, welcome to my class. Today we will study about metals and extraction of metals from its ores. Actually we will study metallurgy and here we will discuss the properties of metals and steps of extraction of metals. Actually extraction of aluminium will be done in detail and about alloys. So let me tell you that the video will be syllabus oriented and I will make sure that I prepare you all with all types of questions that you may get in the exam paper and that you will have no problem in this chapter. Yes, I agree, there are too many things to learn in this chapter. The chapter is not difficult, but yes, you have to give time to this chapter because there are many formulas here. Number of equations are less, but yes, formulas are many, and concept will be very simple and easy to understand. So please like, share and subscribe my channel, and let's begin. So first about metals. Metals, as you know, that the elements which form positive ions by the loss of electrons. This we have done in the previous classes, and by now you know how to define a metal and how to define a non-metal on the basis of gaining electrons or loss of electrons, and why it is. All that we have done in the previous chapters. So let's not waste time over there. So just to give you some of the properties that you have already done in your junior classes, that metals are those which are able to be drawn into wires or sheets. They have high density, high melting point, high boiling point, high tensile strength, and they are very good conductors of heat and electricity, because you had been differentiating metals and non-metals on the basis of all these properties, and you all have also learned the exceptions in your junior classes, so we are not going to do it again. And as you know, I told you just now that non-metals are elements which can form negative ions by gain of electrons. Both are of great use. The metals can be used for many purposes in our daily lives, like making jewelries, coins, utensils, furniture, tools, machinery, parts, vehicles, equipments, and can be used as catalysts. We have seen this in many of the reactions. Biological processes like hemoglobin, insulin. So we know there are more number of uses. They are given in your text, so you are expected to learn from there. Same as non-metals are also of great use in the manufacture of organic compounds, of fuels, and so on. We also know about metals that in the activity series, they are arranged in the decreasing order of their reactivity, like potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver, gold. We have done it. So we now know about that the metals which occur, they are the biggest source of metals. Which one? The Earth's crust. And the less reactive metals occur in free state like gold and platinum. But the reactive metals, they occur in combined state like chlorides, carbonates, oxides, sulfides. So actually the insoluble ores are found as rocks and the soluble ones are washed, and they can be found in the rainwater, seawater, and so on. So minerals are the naturally occurring compounds of metals mixed with gangue or matrix. These are the earthly impurities, and the ores are those minerals from which the metals are extracted commercially. So this is the difference between the minerals and ores. So minerals are the compounds mixed with the impurities, and the ores are the minerals from which metals can be extracted commercially. So actually we are when we are discussing about the types of questions, there will be definitely question which will be asking you the name of the ore and the formula. Like for the metal potassium, the name of the ore is carnallite and the formula is KCl, MgCl2 and 6 water. This can also be the ore of magnesium because MgCl2, so magnesium can also be extracted from here. For sodium, rock salt, we know it, sodium chloride. For calcium, marble or limestone, this also we have done, calcium carbonate. Calcium, we have gypsum, calcium sulfate with 2.H2O. Magnesium, there is one more magnesite, that is magnesium carbonate. There are many, I will be maybe written it down for you, which can help you because you have to anyway learn it, and there will be question from this part 100%. For aluminium, there are many: bauxite, cryolite, feldspar, mica, corundum, and the formula varies. Al2O3.H2O bauxite, which we are going to learn about it later in this video. Cryolite, formula, feldspar, mica, corundum, all these formulas you have to learn, children. There is no way out. For zinc, we have zinc blende, calamine, zincite of sulfide, carbonate, oxide respectively. For iron, there are quite a few, and they are red hematite, brown hematite, magnetite, iron pyrite, siderite. So you have come across these names, I'm sure, but the formulas, yes, you have to learn. For lead, galena, this is not new to you. Copper pyrite, yes, you have to learn. Silver, cinnabar, I'm sure it's not new to you. And for silver, you have argentite and horn silver. So I would suggest to make a note that do not learn all these at a time. Take each metal at a time. Like for example, first you take aluminium, learn all of them and then write it in the rough work and check whether you are going correct or not. Then next day go for zinc, then you can take up hematite and so on for iron, and then I'm sure you will be able to learn the entire part. So now we come to the extraction of metal. So the metallurgy, the first step, that is extraction of metal. Very important to understand that in order to extract metal from the ore, several physical as well as chemical methods are used. The methods applied always depends upon the nature of its ore and the property of that metal which has to be extracted. So the process used to extract metal in their purest form from its ore is called metallurgy. So the steps that we go in is, when we get the ore, the first step is crushing and grinding. Then we concentrate it. Then is roasting or calcination. Then reduction. Then refining. And finally we get the pure metal. These are the steps of metallurgy. Actually, it deals with the production. This metallurgy deals with the production of the metal, the purification of the metal that we get, that is refining, and finally also manufacture of alloys also comes under it. So the first step, if we discuss, the ore is crushed or grinded into very fine powder in the crushers or the ball mills. The second step, the concentration. Actually, the dressing or the concentration is done by, there are different methods. As I told you just now, it depends upon the properties also. So I'll tell you how these steps depend on the properties, and the steps could be any one of them: gravity separation, froth flotation, magnetic separation, or chemical method which is known as leaching. So if it is the gravity separation, which is also known as hydraulic way of separating, here the separation of ore depends upon the difference in the densities of ore and the gangue. So in this process, the denser ore settles in the grooves. There are convolutions made, the grooves made, where the heavy ore settles down and the lighter gangue particles are washed down by water. And this kind is generally for the types of ores of iron and lead oxides, this gravity separation. Now if we talk about the magnetic separation, it is applied for the ores which has got magnetic property, which are attracted by the magnet, and the non-magnetic particles, which are impurities, they fall separately, and this is generally done for the tin stone, SnO2, and also for triferric tetroxide. The next process, if we want to discuss, that is froth flotation. In this process, it is agitated. Which one? The ore which is grinded is agitated with pine oil and water, such that the ore is wetted with the oil and gets separated from the gangue in the form of froth, the lighter one, the froth, and the impurities remain behind in the tank. So the froth is separated out, and this is generally done for the sulfide ores, that is zinc blende or galena. And then if we come to leaching, that is chemical method of separation, here the ore is treated with a suitable reagent. It could be one acid, a base, or any reagent, so that the ore is soluble in it, but the impurities, they will be left behind, which can be filtered. So now in your filtrate, you have the ore dissolved, which is again treated by another reagent, so that now the ore is precipitated out, and which can be filtered, and further treatment can be done as roasting or calcination, and then reduction, we'll discuss about it. And this is done with the ores of metals like silver, gold, and aluminium. If we now come to the next step, that is roasting or calcination, here this is conversion of the concentrated ore to its oxides, and the two general methods which are taken care of is roasting. Here the ore is heated in the excess of air, and this is done for the sulfide ores. For calcination, the ore is heated in the absence of air, and this is done for the carbonate and the hydrated ores. Reactions goes as this. Sulfide ores, when you heat with oxygen, will definitely give you sulfur dioxide, leaving behind the metal oxide. And for the carbonates, on heating it strongly, carbon dioxide is released and the metal oxide will be given out. These metal oxides has to be reduced. So this reduction process can be done by the method, as I will tell you about it, that the reduction of metal oxides to metal now depends upon some properties which we have already discussed. The oxides of highly active metal like potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium have great affinity towards oxygen, so cannot be reduced by any strong reducing agents like coke, carbon monoxide or hydrogen, but needs only electrolytic reduction. This we have done in the electrolysis chapter, where metals like iron, lead and copper can be reduced using these reducing agents, and I have shown some of the reactions. There are could be many in your book. You can refer to the text and prepare all the chemical equations, which are simple. You have done it many a times. There's one more method, aluminothermy, where aluminium, being a very good reducing agent, is used to reduce ferric oxide to give you iron. But this electrolytic reduction of fused metallic salt only in case of these metals can be done, which is fused using the inert electrode, where cathode is one taken as an iron and the graphite anode. So there are examples which we have done it in the electrolysis chapter, like if we talk about potassium bromide or sodium chloride, calcium chloride, alumina. So the molten will give you the metal at the cathode and the non-metal at the anode, like for potassium bromide, potassium at the cathode and bromine gas at the anode. For sodium chloride, sodium at the cathode, chlorine gas at the anode. For calcium chloride, we will get calcium at the cathode and chlorine gas at the anode. For alumina, we get aluminium at the cathode and oxygen at the anode, which we are going to discuss in detail. So after reduction, when you come to refining to get it pure, the above extracted metal has to be separated from the other metal, non-metal, unreduced oxides or sulfides, whatever impurity, by many methods, like can be distillation, liquation or electrorefining, which depends upon again the property, just to purify from the crude metal, and it depends upon what purpose has to be used or what is the the property of the metal. So these are the certain facts. Next, the most important is, here we will discuss about the extraction of aluminium. And for aluminium, we all know that the symbol, the atomic number, the mass number, the valency, the electronic configuration, its period, its group, all these we had discussed in the chapter periodic table. But we should know that aluminium is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust. How does it look like? Silvery white metal. It's reactive, so it does not occur in free state. And the main ore is bauxite. The formula in bauxite, we discussed about it earlier also just now. This ore is first of all grinded finely and heated to remove all the volatile impurities. So once the volatile impurities are removed, it is dissolved to form sodium metaluminate, and the aluminium with red mud can be separated by filtration. The sodium metaluminate with water gets hydrolyzed to give you precipitate of aluminium hydroxide. So let's understand this conversion of bauxite into alumina. How do I get aluminium metal oxide? So this was done by the Bayes process, where alumina is treated with sodium hydroxide to give you sodium metaluminate. The sodium metaluminate is again hydrolyzed to give you the precipitate of aluminium hydroxides. The aluminium hydroxide is heated to give you alumina and water, which is filtered and kept for electrolytic reduction, because aluminium oxide, due to its great affinity for oxygen, is very stable. It cannot be reduced by any coke, carbon monoxide or hydrogen. So the only process left to reduce aluminium oxide, that is alumina, is by electrolytic reduction. And this is done by Hall-Herold's process, where alumina taken is 20% molten state. Cryolite added 60% and fluorspar 20%. This we will discuss later, their reason. Let me just tell you the electrolytic reduction, the electrolysis process, which we have done it earlier. So the dissociation is, cryolite dissociates to give you sodium ion, aluminium ion and fluoride ion. Fluorspar dissociates to give you calcium ion, fluoride ion. Alumina dissociates to give you aluminium and oxide. So you have three cations, aluminium, calcium, sodium, and two anions, fluoride and oxide. Preferentially, since aluminium is in the lower in the electrochemical series, it gets discharged at the cathode. We have done this preferential discharge. Out of fluoride and oxide gets discharged at the anode to give you oxygen, but with carbon there, it gives you carbon monoxide and finally carbon dioxide. So what actually happens is, this alumina, if it has to be melted, it needs 2050 degrees Celsius. And at this temperature, aluminium also vaporizes out because it can be easily be taken out as at this high temperature. So not easy to collect. This difficulty is removed by Hall, who said that on adding cryolite and fluorspar, we can reduce this difficulty. Here, the anode is a thick rod of graphite which gets oxidized to carbon monoxide and finally carbon dioxide. So the anode has to be replaced from time to time as it gets oxidized by oxygen and evolved at the anode. And here we said that out of the 3, aluminium, which is down in the electrochemical series, so it is there at the cathode. But if the supply of alumina reduces, how do we get to know? The voltage jumps, the bulb glows brightly, so fresh alumina can be added. This is the process. But why this process? Because this process will give you 99.8% pure aluminium. Why cryolite? Because this will lower the fusion temperature from 2050 to 950 degrees Celsius. Why fluorspar and cryolite? Because they are acting as solvent, which will increase the conductivity of pure alumina, which is almost a non-conductor. Powdered coke has to be sprinkled on the electrolyte. This is a care to be taken because this will help reduce the heat loss by reduction and also prevent burning of the anode, which is a graphite anode. So this was all about the extraction of aluminium, which is important. All the reactions are definitely there in the question paper. I am sure about it. Bayes process and Hall-Herold's process. All the reasoning questions that I discussed just now is definitely there in the question paper. So please prepare this part properly. It is definitely going to be there in the question paper. Now we come to the refining part of aluminium, which is molten impure aluminium is taken at the bottom layer, and anode actually becomes the bottom layer with carbon lining. The graphite rods at the top layer, they become the cathode, and the middle layer consists of fluorides of these metals, sodium, barium and aluminium. And this will give you 99.9% pure aluminium, and the reactions are simple. Anode will supply, cathode will give aluminium ions are discharged at cathode. Now we come to the next important part, that is alloy. It is a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals or metals with certain non-metallic elements. And we know that the mixture of mercury with other metals is called amalgam. This we have done it in standard 9 last year. And purpose is always to improve the specific usefulness and not to degrade it, of course. There are many uses. Many are given in your text. I have not noted down all, but I have written down some of them. To modify the appearance, to increase the hardness, to make it corrosion resistant, to lower the melting point, to increase conductivity. There are many uses of it. So there are so many written in the text. Please go through, learn them. I have just written down some common alloys. There are many in your text. You are expected to learn all of them. I have noted down just a few, and that is, first one about duralumin, which is the alloy of aluminium. It consists of 95% aluminium, 4% copper, 0.5% magnesium, 0.5% manganese is the composition. It is strong, hard but light, corrosion resistant, highly ductile, so definitely used as the bodies of aircraft, light tools, pressure cooker and so on. And magnesium, which is alloy of aluminium, which is 90 to 95% aluminium, 10 to 5% magnesium, used to make aircraft, scientific instruments, household appliances, due to it being light, strong and corrosion resistant, just as we did in duralumin. The other alloys also I have written it down for you, and that is stainless steel, alloy of iron. Okay, so 73% iron, 18% chromium, 8% nickel and 1% carbon, used to make utensils, cutlery, ornament pieces, surgical instruments. Why? Because of its luster, hardness, corrosion resistant and also resistant to acids and alkalis. We know about brass and bronze. Brass is 60 to 70% copper with 40 to 30% zinc. But bronze is 80% copper, 2% zinc and 18% tin. Brass is used to make screws, handles, utensils, decorative hardwares, cartridges, parts of watches, containers, musical instruments and electrical goods, due to its definitely color, ductility, malleability and corrosion resistant. Bronze at the same time can be used as medals, statues, utensils, coins, and of course because it is polished, corrosion resistant of course, and can be easily cast. We have now solder and fuse metal, which is the alloy of lead. It's used in welding as fuels because of its low melting point, high tensile strength and so on. There are some other alloys also in your text. You are expected to learn all of them. So actually we have till now done about the properties of metals, then about the extraction steps, metallurgical steps, aluminium alloys, and the types of questions also I told you, which you can can face in the question paper. So children, please watch the video, go through the text, solve the questions given in the exercise. The 10 years question paper are that important, so please prepare the chapter. I'm sure you will not have any difficulty. Please like and share and subscribe my channel, and I hope you will enjoy the video. Thank you children, take care.